Here we go. Good afternoon, everybody. Holly to those who are celebrating. You can hear me, right, Rich?
Yeah, I can hear you now. It's coming through.
Well, that's stuck. I get cool. It's a day. Here we're talking Atkins, and let's try. If it isn't coming, Rich, I will come up on my own. So you might see two of me. Let me. All right. Looks like we're having second one.
Technology issues, guys. Bear with us.
Hear me now?
You're kind of coming in and out still.
No?
I can hear you. Yep.
Yeah, it looks like my connection is a little bad. One sec, Rich. Two of me. All right, tell me if you can hear me now. You should be able to hear me now, right?
That's much
All
better.
right, much better. Yeah, I'm doing it from my phone. Yeah. So I was saying that. One sec. Let me get this set up right. Oh, here we go. Perfect. All right, man. Yeah. So I was saying that welcome to ETC, guys. Today we're talking about the impact of action on the world. But before we do that, man, I was telling Rich off camera that you got to watch the special, the comedy special with Chris Rock. It's something to be seen. I think you'll enjoy it. He covers everything from wokeness to his statement was, you at one point to get somebody's job, you just had to be better than them. Now you just got to hope they say something stupid.
and get cancelled.
And get canceled, yeah, right. He talked about that. He talked about victimhood, right? He's like, everybody's a victim, and what that's doing, of course, it's clouding, those who are real victims, right, and drowning their voices out. He goes in hard on Markle, saying that some of the problems are not racist problems; they're just in-law problems. You know? And he told a story you're gonna love about raising children, and when you come from like humble beginnings and you're poor, and then you spoil kids, you spoil your own kids. He talks about what he did in order to give some consequences to like the wildness of his spoiled kids, and they don't know he did this, so they're finding out on the live on the comedy special. Oh, yeah, so I heard Chappelle did that once too. Chappelle got on and said, "Yeah, my kid's not gonna find out that I was searching his room and found weed until he watched this special." Anyway, interesting. He ends, of course, talking about the Will Smith situation, making the statement that a lot of people have been cheated on, but none of them have ever had to endure the indignity of being interviewed by the person who cheated on them on TV. and he's like, and he's a line in there. He's like, "Yo, let's put it this way. He's like, I did something to this other person. How does that make you feel? Like, he's like, this is the interview. Like, can you tell me your feelings on this? I gave like a blowjob to this person. It's terrible, man. It's terrible. So I really think you gotta watch it at some point.
I will keep it up on my list for sure.
Yeah, yeah. And then of course he talks about women, like I texted in the group this morning about men and women, saying that if Beyonce, though she's talented, very talented, if she worked at Burger King, she could still get Jay-Z because she's so beautiful. But if Jay-Z worked at Burger King, I'm not too sure. Then he could get Beyonce, Interesting thoughts. But yeah, man, let's talk about the impact of actions on the world, man. And
Yeah, no, this is I think we tend to maybe think about these things a little bit later in life. And I always believe that a lot of the things that I've come to understand and accept and appreciate, I, had I done that earlier in my life, I probably would have been a better person.
Yeah.
I think we take for granted, right? What our actions add to the world that we live in, and how we can take stock of that. And so, but this is one of those things that I feel like we can all ask ourselves every day, multiple times per day. What exactly are our actions, and it goes across the board, right? Whether you wake up not grateful for life, or you complain about your job, FML. I hate Mondays, and I'm not saying that you shouldn't hate Mondays. I'm just saying, everything that we do, from the time we wake up to the time we go to sleep, sort of adds or takes away something to the world that we live in, and it's helpful, I believe, to take stock and ask yourself, as I go through my day, and I have my interactions, and I do my work, and I connect with loved ones. What is that? What is that adding to the world? Is it good? Is it bad? Is it just lots of hate, gossip, anger? What exactly it is? And then make a choice. Make a choice to be a force for good, and add something to the world. And so I know you are a man that's on a mission to do the good things and serve a useful purpose. So I figure you'd be a good man to help us expand on this topic here.
Oh boy, that's a good one, man. As usual, you say I came to sit and learn. And you thought a lot about this. I think it's if we think about, I don't know how many. I guess it really depends, right? Sometimes if life is tough. And I was talking to someone the other day. I was saying, if you're in survival mode, a lot of times you're not really thinking about, the impact of your actions, right? It's almost like a luxury, though, Richard. And sometimes, right? If you're fortunate to be raised with good values and trained up a certain way, you start thinking about those things very early. But sometimes we're so busy with life, trying to survive, and we're struggling that we're really focusing just on bread and butter stuff, right? We're not thinking about big actions. But I think there is a lot of good, right, that can come out of really considering, what are we adding to the world, right? In terms of value. We talked about some of this before in terms of what we're adding to our community, our lives, the lives of the people around us, and how are we impacting, our lives? Are we a force for good in the world? Are we a force for real change in the world? Are we making the place? Are we part of the solution? Or are we part of the problem? Right. So these are things that we often think about, right? And so I think to the extent that we want to see change and betterment in the world, like for ourselves, right? The question is, how do you expand those kinds of desires, right, into the world itself, right? So how how could you be the change that you want to see in the world, right? If you want kindness out to the world, um, then how do you add kindness to the world, right? So I think it starts with like what is it that we want, and for me, I want to be able to live in a place where I feel loved, appreciated. We have one life to live, right? And so sort of this idea that we really want to live life to the fullest. And what does that mean, right? How do you live life to the fullest? How do you enjoy life, whilst you're here? And when you set that up and you think, hey, you're not really the only person who wants that out of life, other people do, right? So if your actions can go along that line, I'm putting into the world the things I want out to the world, right? It's sort of like when you go to a house party, Rich, and if you want barbecue, you should bring barbecue to the party. It's like you want potato chips, bring it to the party and have it at the party. That way, you're guaranteed, you're sure it's there. And you'd be surprised that other people want it too, and they start eating out. The things that you bring, and everybody's bringing their stuff to the party, and then there's enough to go around. So that's one way I think of it, right? I want a world of respect, so I show people respect. I want a world of love, so I try my best to love and respect people. So that's one way I think of it. I want to add to the world either the things I didn't have, and now I'm able to afford. I really want to give that back. But also the things that I want out of the world, I want to make sure I add it into the world. I want to bring it to the party. You know, I want to bring those actions to the party. Yeah.
Yeah,
Like,
that.
go on. Go on.
No, I mean,
Hmm.
I think that's a good start. My only objection is to the idea of like I get being caught up in the struggle, right? And I see it a lot of times, and I always wonder, right? Is it a chicken and egg situation, right? Is it that I've got to get to a place where I can be nicer, kinder, more loving? Do I have to have resources before I can do that, or can I actually do that now? And
Right.
there's a statement in one of these YouTube videos that I watch, and I've watched it several times. That's called it's a talk by Neil Donald Walsh, and I'm sure I've mentioned it many times to you guys. But he says in there, he says what flows through you sticks to you, right? And I think there's something powerful in that, right? In the sense that as you said, right? If you put out kindness in the world, that kindness sticks to you because it's flowing through you, right? And so um, it doesn't cost anything a lot of times to add value to the world, to do something constructive, to look at somebody and give them a smile, to help somebody out in need, right? I mean, you could be walking down the road and you see somebody struggling with something, you could stop and help them, right? It doesn't take a lot, and I feel like whether it's God or the universe or the powers that be or karma, whatever it is, I feel like it as long as you start thinking about what you're adding to the world and who you are and your day-to-day actions, I feel like it starts to come back to you, right? So you may feel like you're struggling and you don't have time to do something nice for somebody, right? Or you're vexed. Maybe you haven't had a meal in 2 days. I doubt that's the case again. I feel like we got a lot of food, but um, well, whatever it is, right? Whatever struggle that you're going through that you think is your reason. I actually want to challenge that and say, like, if you start being nice, then I feel like the world starts to be nice to you in return. And we know this, right? Like we've been places. Tipping is a good representation of this, right? You go to somewhere, somebody's serving you food. It's customary in some places to tip. You just naturally tip the person that's happier, kinder, right? That's treating you better, right?
Yeah.
It's the same food, right? Somebody's gonna walk up and place it, but the difference is in the attitude of that person, right?
The
And
service.
it
Yeah.
happens in several places, right? Wherever you go, and when people are nice to you, then you tend to want to give them more, and that niceness, it doesn't cost that person anything. I understand like people's circumstances can make you be in a bad mood, but I think a big part of shifting your circumstances is by thinking about your actions and what you're doing, and doing something positive and adding to other people's lives, because it will come back to you. Like I'm a firm believer that it will come back to you. And the world is there's this ripple effect, right, Kofi, of every time you do something that's good, um, it sort of it can touch many lives, right? You could do something kind for somebody um, that's going through a personal struggle. They endure it, they overcome it. They tell the story to their kids. They become successful. Their kids hold on to that story. They remember you, and all of a sudden, that story becomes part of their family story, right? And so now you've not only touched that one person, but you've touched somebody else, and you might share it with somebody that you had the opportunity to make a positive impact in somebody's life, and all of a sudden that story has something worthwhile in it, right? So
Yeah.
the effect of doing good and adding value to the world, I think, is exponential, and it can now that we live on in the virtual world, um, whether for good or bad, it's even greater, right? Because we're having a conversation right now that's not in a physical space, but somewhere in outer space, and so it'll be around for a long time, and people may listen to it, and they may find some value or not. But I do think that we've got a lot more power to add value to the world, and we should think about it, because I think it's kind of like, they say the more you give, the more you get. And I never quite understood that when I went to church. I was like, damn, I don't have no money. You mean if I give my $10, I'm going to get 20? I was never willing to risk that to give up my $10 or 20. So I didn't believe in it, but I think you've got to give. I do understand it now. I'm on board. The more you give, the more you get. The more kindness you give, the more kindness you get. The more you help people, the more you get. In that same talk, Neil Donald Walsh actually he challenges you, right? He says that if you feel like you're lacking something in your life, go out and try to give it to somebody else, and
Yes, yes, absolutely.
yeah,
You
you'll
realize how much you
actually
have.
you'll actually, yeah, you'll find that you're the source, right? Like, you've got all these things that you can give, and while you think you're lacking, like, you can actually be the source of that thing to somebody else. And if you can be the source of that thing to somebody else, then clearly you're not lacking. You have way more than you realize, and so maybe you gotta reverse engineer to start with some gratitude and just start feeling better about life, right? And you see the world very differently. So, um, yeah, I mean, I think you could add a lot of amazing things to the world with $0. If you have money, great. It helps, but I think it's not only something
Yeah.
that
Yeah,
is.
man, there's too much myopia sometimes, right, in the world and in our actions. We don't think sometimes in terms of the long term impact of the things we say and the things we do. And sometimes we're very reactive, right? In just doing something in the moment, right? Being triggered and not thinking about what could be the long term impact of that. And I think you're right. I think if you wake up every day, or even today, and you ask yourself, what actions am I taking to make my world and the life of people around me better? And you really think on that for a second, it could start to change how you make decisions, given certain actions, right? A simple thing, for example, like we could all commit today as drivers on the road, wherever in the world you are, particularly
More again.
Guyana being our home, is slowing down, for example, and allowing people across the road, because sometimes you see pedestrians standing there for a long time just trying to get them across the road. But we're so focused on us that if you stop for like what, to 5-10 seconds, it doesn't take much, and the impact of that could definitely be significant, right, in terms of saving lives and so forth. So sometimes those little actions go a really, really long way, Richard, just in terms of kindness and so forth. And not just that, whether it's in the office. We had this policy when I was working in Missouri, when folks would bring stuff in the office, banana bread, whatever they made at home, they would bring it in the office and just like share it. And those things have an effect on you, right? It's like like when someone's being kind to you, it really softens you, and and it just creates this environment where you feel loved and appreciated. And I think everybody wants to feel that way. So I think little things like that really do have a major impact on the world and the people around us. And even I could do and improve in some of those areas. Sometimes you tend to forget. So this conversation is a good reminder for that. So
Yeah.
appreciate
No,
it.
you raise a good point there about being on the road and driving. And I actually, and I know we've probably talked about this before, but um, minibus drivers fail to realize the amount of lives that they touch every day, right? In terms of all the people, I mean, and we talked about this, like, the president at one time was a passenger in one of those buses, right? And the future president of the country could
It's
today
like
want to be a passenger
yeah.
now, right? A passenger in those minibuses, and they're taking people to work, kids to school, all kinds of stuff, and so the way they treat those people has a significant effect on their day, right? Or to the extent they're endangering their lives by the stupid things they do on the road. And that's an example, right, of somebody that has so much power to be nice and kind to people, and to add some value to the
Yeah.
lives of those people that they carry, because it's an important job. And I know sometimes maybe as passengers we don't do a good enough job of saying thank you, right? And so I think it certainly go both ways, but recognizing that we all sort of sit in a space where we're impacting people's lives every day, even without realizing it, right? You may think
Yeah.
of yourself as being an insignificant bus driver, but that's not true. You're actually transporting the future of the country every single day, right?
Absolutely.
You're moving them
Absolutely.
from a critical point A to a point B. So, yeah, I agree with you. We can all do a little
Yep.
bit better, and yeah, I appreciate this conversation as well. I'm gonna go out and try to
Yeah.
add some more value to the world. And if you guys have any
Let's do
recommendations,
it.
feel free to share. Let's
Let's do it.
all be better human beings. We can do it.
Let's do it, man. Cool.
All
All right,
right.
guys.
Happy Pago. Holy to
Yes.
everybody celebrating. I'll tell you, Kofi, there are a few times. Well, there's a lot of times I miss being in Guyana, but especially around Diwali, Pago, Christmas, Easter.
I was
Probably
in Kitty today, man. I was in Kitty today, right? And there's a bar. You go down Bar Street. I can't remember that street. Then you go to the bottom and you make the first left there, right? And so there's a bar there. They've put pipes, put holes in it, and it's spraying water to people. They got like the dye on, and they're out there drinking beer, boy. In the sun, it was like, wow, nice. Yeah, fun time, man. Fun time.
Life. Yeah, man.
Fun
Yeah,
time.
meanwhile, some people in the snow trying to play Pago, that can be fun.
Yeah, man, that don't sound like. I ain't hating on it, but I'm just saying, parking the snow it's like snow cone, right? So anyway.
All right, everybody.
All right, man. Take care, man. Love you. Bye.
Take care, guys.